very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashingsani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Sri Lankan Airlines wins the prestigious Asia's leading airline in the Indian Ocean title for the third consecutive year. Former central bank governor suggests that the country should follow the macroeconomic policies. News in detail. Sri Lankan Airlines, the national carrier of Sri Lanka, won the prestigious Asia's leading airline to the Indian Ocean title for the third consecutive year at the World Travel Awards Asia and Oceania Gala ceremony held last Saturday in Vietnam. World Travel Awards was established in 1993 to acknowledge, reward and celebrate excellence across all key sectors of the travel, tourism and hospitality industries. Thus, at this year's award ceremony, Sri Lankan Airlines, the national carrier of Sri Lanka and a member of the One World Alliance, reaffirming its stature as a leading airline in the Indian subcontinent, won the prestigious Asia's leading airline to the Indian Ocean title for the third consecutive year at the World Travel Awards Asia and Oceania Gala ceremony. Thus, the other contenders for the award were Bangkok Airways, Cathay Pacific, China Eastern Airlines, China Southern Airlines, Hainan Airlines, Hong Kong Airlines, Korean Air, Malaysian Air, Silk Air and Singapore Airlines. Sri Lankan Airlines Chief Executive Officer Vipula Gunatilaka said that this prestigious award reinforces the success of the efforts to remain a leading carrier in the Indian Ocean region and that the country's connectivity strength across other key regions has always made our country a preferred choice of travel to and from the Indian subcontinent via the Colombo hub. Let's now look at the daily dose of political news from the Next President segment. Presidential candidate of New Democratic Front and Minister of Housing, Construction and Cultural Affairs, Sajith Premadasa states that he will engage in decision-making with a set of right-minded people. Thus, Minister Premadasa made these remarks at a recent public forum titled Meet the Candidate, organized by the American Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka. The American Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka announced the Meet the Candidate series, at which the main presidential candidates are hosted at a forum designed to discuss and express their proposed policies. The first in this series took place last Friday in Colombo with the presidential candidate of New Democratic Front, Minister Sajith Premadasa, on his proposed policies for trade and investment incentives for businesses and opportunities for growth.
If you have a set of like-minded yes men or women who conquer persistently and consistently with your own ideas, you become a victim of a decision-making error called victims of groupthink. So when that happens, there are obstacles to rational decision-making. The rational process is not followed. So you have automatically a bunch of people who will be saying yes. And just lastly, the team. Well, I can assure you there will be a wholesale change as far as the team is concerned.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna, Professor G.L. Piri, states that the party's presidential candidate Gotabaya Rajapaksa will be a national representative without being biased for a particular ethnic group. Addressing a media briefing this morning, Professor Peiris assured that their presidential candidate would definitely ensure the interests of the minority community, which was misled by the current government. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna, Professor G.L. Peiris, noted that the results of the LPTIA Pradeshiya Sabha election is a stepping stone for the success of the party in the forthcoming presidential election. He further stated that his party, together with UPFA, will definitely get over 70% of the votes at the presidential election. Meanwhile, Professor G.L. Peiris noted that the Muslim community has personally met with former President and opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa after the riots in Digana in Kandy, pledging him to restore the national security and the interests of the community, noting that the current government has ignored their rights. Thus, chairperson of SLPP also called for the firm support of the minority groups for the SLPP presidential candidate. Former Governor of the Central Bank Ajit Niwad Cabral says sharp 1 trillion rupees of country's debt was created by the rupee depreciation and the macroeconomic policies should be soon implemented to make the rupee stronger. The former Governor Cabral made these remarks addressing a Vyatmaka seminar which was held in Colombo last week.
So if we want to get the 14 trillion rupee debt down, one of the best ways is to have macroeconomic policies that will bring your rupee to be a little stronger. Because last year, the debt went up by 1,063 billion in fact. So 1 trillion came from rupee depreciation added to the debt. So if the reverse occurs, your debt comes down by 1 trillion. What it does to your debt to GDP ratio is that it will become a lot more manageable. Your rating will become better. You can borrow at a lower price. So these are all factors that the country will enjoy. So if the country is borrowing at a lower price, you will borrow at a low price. If you borrow at a low price, your risk is less. If your risk is less, you will do more business. If you will do more business, you will pay more taxes. If you pay more taxes, the government will get more revenue. If the government gets more revenue, the government can invest more. If the government invests more, there will be growth in the country.
Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy warns that high salary upsurges that will be executed from January 2020 may lead to tightening rates. Thus, addressing a recent press conference, Governor Kumaraswamy noted that likelihood of fiscal slippage may also push Central Bank to tighten the rates.
There is an overall framework of fiscal consolidation. The trajectory of adjustment has been adversely impacted by factors beyond the control of the authorities. For instance, in the wake of the political impasse in the last quarter of last year, economic activity was affected. Then after the April events, again economic activity was affected. And when economic activity slows down, the VAT take, then the take on certain excise duties, all that gets adversely affected, and that is what has happened. So revenue was adversely affected. And some additional expenditure also had to be incurred in relation to security expenditure, etc. So that's one. So there is going to be a slippage in the fiscal performance. But what is most important is there is a medium-term framework that has been set out which will enable Sri Lanka to manage its debt dynamics. That is where the problem is. One is inflation. It can lead to inflation. But their monetary policy can be tightened to try to lean against that. So if salaries are increased, then in order to stay within the framework, one would need to reduce other expenditure and or increase revenue. So that's what would be the challenge for the government.
Subsequently, upon a clarification sought after by media personnel on the situation of the forensic audits on the central bank bond scam, Governor Dr. Kumaraswamy said that 5 out of 6 forensic audits on the central bank bond scam will be completed by November.
So they're going on. The timelines for their completion are sort of end of this month, middle of November. So sometime around the 3rd or 4th week of November, they should all be completed. There are altogether 6. One of them, which came out of certain court proceedings, or at least it was expanded, the scope was expanded out of a court proceeding. That one, we still haven't done the procurement. But the other 5 will be completed.
Lanka Pay Technovation Awards 2019, organized by Lanka Clear Limited, the operator of Lanka Pay National Payment Network, was held in Colombo under the auspices by Digital Infrastructure and Information Technology Minister Ajit P. Pereira, State Minister of Finance Eran Wickramaratne, and Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy. Lanka Pay Technovation Awards is Sri Lanka's first and the only annual payment technology innovation awards organized for the third consecutive year. The objective of the awards competition is to recognize the leaders of payment technology innovations in the country who have steadfast to the cause of promoting electronic payments and constantly thriving for enhancing customer convenience. This year's Lanka Pay Technovation Awards focused on customer convenience under the theme of the clear touch, taking into consideration the numerous elements that need to be operated seamlessly in a fraction of a second in order to bring convenience to the customer's fingertips. Meanwhile, Sampath Bank clinched the highest number of awards at the recently concluded Lanka Pay Technovation Awards 2019, bagging the award for Most Innovative Bank of the Year and the overall winner for excellence in interbank payments in banking category, in addition to winning 6 coveted awards. The second meeting of the Subcommittee on Trade between Sri Lanka and Vietnam, hosted by the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, was held in Hanoi, Vietnam recently. Discussions were held on several areas for cooperation agreed upon by the two sides, including signing the agreement between Sri Lanka and Vietnam on cooperation and mutual assistance in customs, extending the implementation of cooperation plans in the agricultural sector for the period of 2020 and 2022. The two countries discussed specific measures that could be taken to remove difficulties and obstacles in trade, investment and business cooperation. Sri Lanka and Vietnam also agreed to expand cooperation in a number of other areas such as health and tourism and promote direct flights between the two countries to support trade and tourism development. The two sides also agreed to hold the meeting of Subcommittee on Trade once every 2 years. The 17-member Vietnam delegation was headed by Deputy Minister, Minister of Industry and Trade of Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Cao Khong Hung, and assisted by Director General Asia Africa Market Department, Le Hoang Ong, Deputy Director General Asia Africa Market Department of the Ministry of Industry and Trade, Du Quang Hung, and several other officials from related government agencies and Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sri Lanka side was headed by Secretary to the State Ministry of Industry and Commerce of Sri Lanka, Madhava Deva Surendra, and a team from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Stay tuned for stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 35.43 points to close at 5,870.09, and the S&P SL20 gained 33.82 points to close at 2,900.26. The turnover was 1 billion rupees and over 43 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.